You
You're
guys can hear me
welcome.
okay, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so it's a pleasure being here. Thanks again for having me back. I had a real blast with you guys the last time, and excited to talk to you guys today. My name's Henry Kaminski. I go by the brand doctor. I own a brand agency called Unique Designs. And for the past 14 years, I've been helping small businesses, personal brands, really help them scale and develop a brand that truly represents the value that they deliver. And I've worked with some great people. You might know one guy called John Bon Jovi. If you can see over my shoulder here, that was a CD that I designed for him from cover to cover, and did 2 world tours with him, really helping him get his marketing out to the people that he really truly wanted to speak to. And we actually did that in a really fun way. So every time he would go and do a show, we would drop ship 100,000 pieces of marketing materials to that arena, and then his street team would distribute. And so it was a lot of fun, working with the team on the back end there, and then working with John on this CD design, having him critique himself. He's a very detail oriented man. I will just say that. And I truly believe that that's why he's successful, is because he pays attention to every little detail. So I started off as a graphic designer, literally creating nightclub flyers that probably got stuck underneath your windshield wiper at some point. If you live in New Jersey, I'm sure it happened once or twice. And matured that business into a multi 7-figure branding agency over the past 14 years. So I dedicated my life to this, and I'm gonna hopefully pass it on to my little guy. He's 3. We'll see what happens. But one of the digital opportunities that I would share with you guys today, if you haven't heard about it already, but it is taking the digital space by storm right now, and it's an app called Clubhouse. I would highly recommend you take a look at this. It's in a beta stage right now. Anybody here familiar with mastermind groups? Has anybody ever joined a mastermind group? So, okay, so it's the one of my mastermind group members actually explained it this way, and I thought it was great. If a podcast made love to a mastermind group, you have Clubhouse. And basically what it is an all audio platform. And so it's an all audio platform, and there's moderators, just like Desiree, that moderate these rooms. If you think back 20 years ago, AOL had chat rooms where you went into a chat room and you chatted away via typing. Well, now they're opening up rooms where it's all audio. And so what has been very interesting for me to see, I've only been on the platform a week and a half. I have 1,300 followers already. I've been moderating rooms with people like Grant Cardone and Damon John and a lot of the sharks that you see out there on Shark Tank. I've been sitting next to these people in these rooms as a panel expert, and have been watching deals go down that I've never thought in a million years. I'll give you a quick example. So there was a guy who trademarked Cardi B's name, her real name. And he was trying to sell it for $500,000. So he went, there was a room, it was called Shark Tank on Clubhouse, and there was a whole bunch of investors sitting on this panel. So here's a guy, he pitches the name. So they're asking him all these questions. And they finally, you know how that Shark Tank goes, they kind of whittle you down to nothing, and then if somebody's interested, they'll counter. So this guy actually said, I'll tell you what, I'll buy it. I'll buy it for $50,000. And the guy said, done. So he literally made that deal. I saw another guy pitch a show to a producer of a Netflix series, and the producer actually took him on, took the offer. So these rooms are getting huge. I was sitting next to Tiffany Haddish on Saturday night because she came into a room and she just was sharing her story, like how she became famous and all these things. Tyrese Gibson was in a room with me yesterday and was sharing. He was actually down in Turks and Caicos at Mary J. Blige's 50th birthday party. And he's like, I got 30 minutes. I'm going to come in this room and I want to enlighten some people. And he came in and he spoke, and we were all like, just what he said was just absolutely stunning and amazing. So what I've been doing with this platform is I've been hosting some rooms around my topic of expertise, which is branding, personal branding. And I've been growing a following that way. But the quickest way I've been growing my following is making these relationships and with people that have bigger audiences than me. Nina talked about influencer marketing, but it's similar to that. So I belong to a mastermind group who is founded by a real estate investor who is top 2% in the country. And I connected with him through the group, and he's been just a genius with this Clubhouse app, and he's got a massive following. So because we're mastermind group members together, I go into all of his rooms. He brings me up as a moderator, and now I'm sitting in front of 5, 6, 7, 800 people. And these people are clicking on my face. They're reading my bio, and I have my bio connected to my Instagram account. They go to my Instagram account, they give me a follow, and then they start communicating to me in DM on Instagram. And the first 45 minutes I was on this app, I closed a 45-minute consult for $500, which will eventually mature into one of my core programs, which starts at $25,000. But that's how quickly I was able to monetize the app. And so I just see it's in beta. It's only on iPhones. I highly recommend, and it's invite only. So you have to be invited into this. So people have been reaching out to me constantly, like, do you have an extra invite? I'm out. I'm completely out. But if you ask around, just say, I'm looking for an invite to Clubhouse. If you ask, you will find. And I highly recommend you get in there and you start jumping into different rooms, and perhaps you have something to say. You could raise your hand and they'll bring you up onto the stage or into the panel, and then you could ask the question. So it's been a huge platform for Q&A, which is phenomenal for me, is because I'm working with that personal brand, that expert, that influencer that wants to create a legacy out of themselves, right? And wants to scale their business online. When I first joined the app, I got in and I just kept quiet and I just kept asking questions. I was in a room the other day with the head of media for Nike. And I was able to ask her a question like, what's your biggest branding goal for 2021? And she just gave me such tremendous insight. And because the question was good, apparently, the entire all the moderators, there was 12 of them, they all went round robin and answered that question for me. So now I have 16 pages of Google Notes of what their challenges are, what their pain points are, what they're focusing in on in 2021, where now I could go and create podcast material, because I have a podcast called the Brand Doctor Podcast. I could create YouTube videos. I could create content marketing, like Nina said, specifically speaking to these folks' this is objectives for 2021. So I'm using it as a listening research tool, but I'm also using it as a positioning tool, because once you become a moderator and you get a little green star next to your name and you're brought up into the panel as a moderator, what does it do? It immediately increases your status, your influence, your credibility, your authority. So when you get that green dot, it's like, okay, we're going to listen to Henry because he's up there for a reason. So I've seen this now. I've only been on the platform for a week and a half and grew my Instagram account. Probably, I got to look, it was 500 people, new people, just in 1 week, just from having the people from Clubhouse come connect with me on Instagram. So I could talk all day, so I'm going to shut up. But that's a new digital opportunity that I think shouldn't be dismissed or overlooked still while it's in beta.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, Henry. That's actually a really cool app. I'm on it as well. I've been in the room with some of the people that you've mentioned, Tiffany and see first name basis, Tiffany, Tiffany and Tyrese, and I've been on some really cool conversations with individuals like that, and I've also been in some really interesting conversations that had to do with politics and AI and stuff like that. So really good space, really good idea to become a moderator on that space. I have been on it just about the same amount of time as you, Henry, but not 1,500 followers. So we got to talk. Amya, I'm going to introduce you. Well, actually, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself and, give us a few quick hits on the first question. So first, just tell us about yourself and your business, and then I'll ask you the first question as well, and then we'll move on.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Amya Zhanelle, and I am the president and CEO of As Is Media. And I'm very grateful to be with you all here today. I began my journey in marketing back in 2018. I was working with a Fortune 500 company on their social media team. And it wasn't until last July that I had gone my own route and started As Is Media, a social media consulting firm. And what we do is we just help brands and businesses, whether they're startup or mature, navigate their way around the digital world and figure out strategies to best meet and exceed their goals through the utilization of social media. And so to answer the question, what new opportunities are there in the digital world? Well, I think we've seen from last year, it is definitely within the social media realm. And Henry made a great example with Clubhouse. A lot more people are willing to take the time, well, they have more time to figure out what these social media apps are, where their audience is, and more people are also willing to engage both from the business to the customer side and the customer to the business side. And with that, there's just a lot of creativity going on and figuring out new ways to speak to your audience and to get your audience to engage with you, and new ways to share information either about your business, share information about what's going on, or just to entertain. So definitely we've seen new opportunities happen across social media marketing. I think that is where a lot of businesses have focused, and I think that's definitely a good area to continue to focus.
Thank you, Amya. Thanks for that. We talked a little bit, well, Henry started it, Amya followed up with it, and Nina touched on influencers, and Henry talked about it through Clubhouse. Tell me, what are some of the best ways to utilize social media to increase followership and convert those followers into customers? And so I mentioned Clubhouse in the beginning because that is one of the ways, but what else is there? Like, what else can you tell us? Nina, what do you know? What can you tell us about different ways that you can increase followership and then convert those followers into customers?
I think first, when you're, whether you've been doing it for a while or not, you need to continually make clear what your goals are and who you want to talk to. And then post on a regular basis and engage with people on a regular basis, because it's all about establishing a relationship. And as you engage and you track, you can see what is working better than what posts are working better, what audiences, what have you. Then do more of that. If that's that's the direction of if that's the audience you want to capture, and certain types of posts are working, then do more of that. And then, of course, you can, to increase followers, you can also broaden your audience by investing in advertising on social media as well. So it depends on whether you want to stay in the free realm or invest in social media.
Thanks, Nina.
Sure.
When you say post on a regular basis, what would you consider regular? Is it the same for all businesses, or do you think it's different? Like, is there a best practice?
You should post at least once a week, but if you can, post something once a day. And then those posts can turn into conversations. So then you're getting even more traction out of each one. So I would say, once a week at a minimum, but as frequently as possible.
Got it. Thank you. Amya, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so it all has to do with who do you want to follow you? And that's usually the audience that you have or that you want to have. So making sure you understand who those people are will help you figure out what you need to produce to attract that audience. And then, as Nina said, engagement. A lot of my clients, they ask me, well, I'm posting frequently, but I'm not getting anything. What's going on? I'm like, well, what are you doing to engage your client? What are your calls to action? Because you could be producing content left and right, but if you're not providing them some type of action to do after you make that post or that blog, then it's just floating. So you definitely need to give something to encourage them to follow you or go check out something else that you have going on. So definitely make sure you have those call to actions with your audience. And then also not only engaging with who's engaging on your pages, but also going through your feeds and engaging with other people that is within your community. Because again, it's about building those relationships. So building the relationship with your audience, and then also in some cases, building relationships with other businesses kind of related to what you do, because it goes back to referrals and bouncing ideas off of each other, even collaborations, things like that. So engagement and knowing your audience, that's going to help you build your following.
Thanks, Amya. Henry, because you gave us such good detail under the Clubhouse piece, I just want to ask you in regards to when we look at those followers and how to increase them and convert them into customers, what about the metrics? Like, what are some of the best methods that a business can use to measure the social media performance?
Yeah, so a couple things here. And I love what Amya said about understanding your audience. Before you post a single piece of content, be sure to know exactly who you're trying to serve. And to make the content marketing easier on you, focus on two things: handling objections and answering questions that those particular people may have. If you create a content strategy just doing those two things, your social media platform is going to turn into a resource guide organically. So that's definitely something that I wanted to just put in there. As far as metrics go, there's pixels that you can install, especially if you're going to drive traffic with paid traffic. You install the pixel, and then Facebook will handle all of those metrics for you. They will deliver the analytics for you. If you're not doing the paid traffic route, one of the things that I do is when people book a brand assessment via my website and I get on that Zoom call with them, the first question I ask is, how'd you find me? That's the first question. They'll say Instagram. All right, note that. Keep doing what you're doing on Instagram. Or I heard you on a podcast. What podcast? Scale up your bit. Okay. Remember that one. So those metrics are, that's the organic way. And then, the technical way is to definitely create those pixels where appropriate. And that will give you a lot of the analytics you need. Google Analytics also is a great tool that it just seems to be sometimes overlooked because it's been around so long and whatever, but Google Analytics is great. The other thing that I would recommend is a software called Lucky Orange. Lucky Orange has been a godsend for us. So it's a little snippet of code. You put it on your website, and it is a heat mapping system / recorder. So anybody who visits your website, you can actually see their movement on your site. So if they're not hitting a page, if they're not scrolling down, if they're coming to your page and just leaving right away, and then you could turn on the heat map system and you could see where different parts of the website is hot and other parts are cold. And then you could filter out the activity. So if you just want to look and analyze high activity, you could just filter it out by clicking a radio button, and it'll only show you the people that showed up to your site that really hung around and stuck around. So Lucky Orange has been a phenomenal tool. We noticed, I'll give you a real life case study. We realized that the second most popular page on my website was the services page. So we said, all right, how do we beef up that page? Because we're getting a lot of traffic to it. So we installed little snapshots of our work on that page. We've also implemented an FAQ section on that page. So people can really pre-qualify themselves through that FAQ to see whether or not they're a good fit for us. And so we were able to optimize that one page because of Lucky Orange showing us that a lot of traffic was going to that page. So I hope that helps.
Aha, that's a really, really good tip. Thanks for that. I know I'm definitely going to be talking to my marketing team about that. Nina, can you tell us what social media performance best practices you might be using in your business?
I try to, most of my clients are business to business clients or B2B. I'm working with businesses whose customers are businesses. So I try to keep my LinkedIn profile up to date. And also, people make a mistake often just putting their title in just what they do. They really need to put what they do in what they do, if that makes any sense. But one of the tricks is, it's a title. If someone's searching for someone, a title isn't going to bring them any detail about what you do. It's not going to bring you up if they're looking for what you do rather than what your title is, to put it simply. So there's ways to keep your LinkedIn profile and information up to date, keep conversations going through LinkedIn, using LinkedIn to search for other businesses that you could be referral sources or potential candidates. So that's my big focus is really LinkedIn. I have a Facebook business page. I post my blogs on there. When I post on my LinkedIn page, my personal LinkedIn page, and my business Facebook page, but I really have that because I'm a marketing person and people go, oh, well, don't you have a Facebook page? Well, yeah, but it's not really for most B2B companies, LinkedIn is really the place to be. So that's my primary focus.
Thank you, Nina. That was really good. Great nuggets there. And what you just offered. Amya, can you just add on any tips that you might have for social media performance and lead us into what types of scheduling programs might work with social media performance? like the pros and cons.
Yeah, so when it comes to social media performance and measuring that, you you definitely have to look back at your goals. Um, know what you want to do with your business, and then you'll be able to figure out how you want to measure the performance of the social media. So in some cases, it could just be about the followers and the reach. And then other cases, it's about the engagement and um, the reactions and the conversions. So it depends on less of your business industry and more of what goals you have set for your business, and that will lead you into what metrics you need to focus on. Um, and then as far as the pros and cons to social media scheduling platforms, they're very beneficial. And there are a lot out there. And with that said, you have to figure out what's best for your business. Um, because some of them, they range between how many users you can have. So if you have a big team handling your social media, you need to keep in mind how many new users you can have on the platform at once. You should keep in mind what are the capabilities for scheduling. Um, how many platforms you can, if it does allow all of the platforms, because some are specific to just one, like maybe, like for example, Planoly, that one's specific to Instagram, whereas Hootsuite is, you can do Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, what have you. Um, so it's definitely just looking at what is the best fit for your business. And then my one con is that when it comes to these scheduling platforms, while they do provide a benefit that you can schedule these things earlier, if you're scheduling like a lot of content out weeks prior, you have to make sure that you're going back to check to see what is going out every day. Um, there's a lot that happens in the world, and so it's just about making sure you're reading the room and making sure that what you're putting out um, is not going to set more fires to what could potentially be going on in the world. So just make sure when you are scheduling to keep in mind, or just make a daily check, see what's going out for that day, um, and then just go from there. Um, so that's what I would suggest when it comes to social media scheduling platforms. But they're a great benefit, and if you have a lot of content going out frequently, it's definitely something to consider using for your business.
Well, very good point, Amaya, about taking a look at the messaging that you're sending out, especially if you're scheduling it in advance, because what was a great message, like today is a wonderful day and join us X, Y, and Z, could actually be not such a great day. And I know we've seen some in the past, week or so. So your messaging could, clash with what is happening in the world if you have it scheduled. That's such a good point. Thanks for that, Amaya. Henry, before I pop over to you, I see a lot of movement happening in the chat, and I love it because people are telling us who they are and what their businesses are. And so definitely keep that going. Feel free to drop questions in there, because if you have questions, we're going to try to get those answered before we close out. So do that as well. But Henry, yeah, anything to add on the scheduling programs?
I let my social media marketing team handle this, but one of my big gripes with the pre-scheduling platforms is that it's not a set it and forget it type of thing, because the way you speak on LinkedIn may not necessarily be the same way you speak on Instagram. So you have to speak native to that platform, right? Do you know what I mean by that? So if you say, drop me a DM, and that post goes out on LinkedIn, well, we don't call DMs on LinkedIn. We call them private messages, right? So when you're scheduling this when you're scheduling your posts, you got to make sure that the caption is native to that platform. We didn't talk about the types of automations that are out there. There's Hootsuite and things like that you mentioned in the email, but the one that I sort of played around with to get a feel for, and then basically said, here team, use this because it's the best one out there. It's called Agora Pulse, Agora Pulse, Pulse. It seems to be the most user-friendly, the most dynamic, and the one that, like Amya said, there's multiple, you could set up multiple accounts, like not just LinkedIn, YouTube, but all of that, but you could set up multiple accounts for multiple different clients, if you will, if you're running an agency or whatnot, but that wouldn't probably be relevant here. But Agora Pulse seems to just outperform the others by a long shot, in my opinion.
Thank you. And so if you ask, you shall receive. So I have a question in the panel. Do you have any advice on how to differentiate your Facebook, Insta, Twitter, and LinkedIn content? As a brand, you want to be clear with your voice. However, should you be tweaking your voice content to fit the media site? And Henry, I think you touched on this a little bit, but that question came from Kathy Schultz from the Vanguard Theater. Anybody from the panel can pick up that question.
I'll let the ladies go first.
Well, I think they're all they're configured, or the I don't know what you want to call it, the rules for each one, or how they operate, forces you to tweak your content for each one. So one of the, you're not necessarily, Twitter, the important thing is the text and the message, not so much images. Images are crucial in Instagram, Facebook, a little different, more conversational. So yes, definitely you want to tweak your message. So what you can do is come up what your general message is, and then think about, short and snappy for Twitter, picture for Instagram, and maybe something short with it in terms of message. And then Facebook, you can, go on and on if you prefer. So you can post something a little longer, but something that will engage and create conversation or sharing. So it is definitely something that you should do. And it's really, you got to think about the types of platforms they are and who the audiences are and what the platforms are trying to accomplish.
Thanks, Nina. Amya, anything to add?
Yes, so Henry and Nina came up with some really good points, and just to add on to that, obviously for Twitter, you only have so many characters, so you definitely want to keep that short. And then if you do have longer captions for Facebook or LinkedIn, the first part needs to be something eye-catching, because you only have so many characters until you have the read more portion. So if you do have a lot of text, make sure you put the most important, like, oh, I need to stop and click read more piece first, and then put the rest afterwards. So that will allow people to kind of get more of what you're trying to say.
I think your voice needs to stay consistent, because if you're talking on one platform and then you're talking out of the other side of your mouth on another platform, that's going to create inconsistency, confusion, and distrust. So I would say keep the voice the same, but pay attention to what your audience is engaging with and likes on each platform. So I'll give you a quick example. On Facebook, I'm a little bit more on the personal side. You'll see more pictures of my family, me on vacation, things like that. On Instagram, it's all business, baby. Like every once in a while, I'll drop a picture of my son and me and my wife or something like that. But 90% of it is business, because 90% of my business comes from Instagram. So it's definitely going to, that's why I do it that way. YouTube is a great long form platform where people want 15, 20 minutes from you to really get to know you better, right? So this is where you can really start to let loose a little bit, maybe put your hair down and say, all right, I'm going to share with you some personal things that I'm going through right now that's relevant to business, in case you're doing XYZ, whatever your audience is, right? But your audience is going to tell you. When I post personal stuff on my Instagram, it sometimes gets a lot of love, but the majority not. When I post personal stuff on my Facebook, it's like hundreds of likes and comments and so on. So your audience engagement is going to show you what they like from you on that platform, if that makes sense.
That makes a ton of sense. It really does. Thank you so much for those answers. And thank you for that question, Kathy. If anybody else has others, please drop them in the chat. So we've talked about content management. We've talked about engagement. We've talked about, having a consistent voice being important when we're managing our social media pages. One of the things I wanted to talk about is something that seems to be like a hot topic in a bunch of different areas. What happens when you're doing all the right things and something creeps in and just goes left when it comes to managing negative messages that creep up on your business social media pages? Somebody makes a comment that's offensive, or someone makes a comment and they specifically talk about your business services. So they come for you and they talk about, negative things about your service. Like they didn't like something about your service. There's always going to be somebody that doesn't like something. Hopefully they come and talk to you personally and they don't say it on social media. But when they do, what do you do? Or if someone says something highly offensive, what do you do? I'm going to punt this one to Amya.
Yes, this is definitely a huge, a huge obstacle. But what I normally categorize these types of comments into three areas. The first being a general bad experience, and this is what Desiree was saying before, how they're just commenting on, oh, I didn't like the customer service that I received, or oh, this product was faulty. And in that sense, you definitely want to respond and figure out a solution, because they could be the first person that had said something to you, but there might be other people that have had that same experience and they haven't said anything. So in that case, you definitely want to respond and also take it to a private message as well and talk with them and figure out the full story, what was going on, what had happened, and then resolve the issue there. The other category is just people that make random negative comments that don't necessarily relate to anything that's on your platform or what you're doing. It's kind of completely just unprovoked. And so in that case, those you don't really need to pay much attention to. It's just probably somebody having a bad day and they just feel like being mean to somebody. But the last category is just the completely offensive and obscene comments that might be talking about your business, your employees, you, or even a commenter. And in that, you definitely need to share your stance in those situations. The first response, I wouldn't advise to be ignore and delete it, because you have to remember you are on a platform, and if that type of comment does come up, other people probably will see it And if they see that you kind of just ignored it and it was like a really serious comment, maybe about like race or what have you, then it would it would be not a great practice to just be like, oh no, I can't do this and throw it away. So the best thing to do would be to clearly state your um, stance on that issue. It doesn't have to be a whole long thing. It could be short and simple. Make sure that you're referring to your own business's mission and your policies and what your brand represents, and how that comment doesn't uh, align with what your business or your brand is representing. And it's not necessarily to have a back and forth, it's just to make a clear statement to that person, and then also to other people that might be visiting your page, so they know that it's clear, like, okay, they're not about this. Um, so definitely, and then if they try to come back and forth with you, then in that case, you'll want to go forward and block them and take them off of the page, because that in that sense you don't need that. But if it does come to that, do make sure that your stance is clear and it's visible to people, so there's no second guessing of where you might be on that topic. I think we saw last year that, you know, the whole silence is compliance thing, and you definitely want to make sure you're avoiding that. And it's okay to have a voice on some issues, and whether you're a corporation or a more relaxed business, you can always find the right message to put out to people to make your stance clear. So
Thank you, Amaya. Thank you for that information. It's such a hot topic and it's very challenging to deal with. Not the most easiest thing to deal with. Henry, I want to ask you if you have anything to add to that, and if so, please do. And also just quick, briefly tell us, because I know that you have a another engagement because you're so popular. Can you just share with the group what what would you suggest is something that a business can focus on? Like, if it was one thing that a business could change this year in their digital marketing, what would it be? But feel free to definitely jump in and share if you have anything on the negative social media messages.
Well, look for the truth, and if there's no truth, then dismiss it, like Amaya said. But I was trolled years ago, and it was part of the, part of the scar, right? As you grow and build a strong audience and a big audience, you're going to get one or two of these people, right? And it is what it is. But when I got trolled, I looked for the truth, and the guy actually was a bit honest, and he's like, Henry, I don't know who you are. You just show up in my feed. You're getting in and out of private jets, and you're looking like you're hot stuff, but like when I Google you, nothing shows up. And that was a really awesome piece of feedback, because I was like, you know what, here I am trying to lead with the flash, and it's not resonating with my audience. So, and that's not the type of guy I was. Maybe back then I was, but as I matured, I don't lead with that anymore, right? But what he taught me was lead with value. Don't lead with flash. We don't care about the jets. We want to know how you can help me. Like, that's it. So my marketing strategy now moving forward, anything paid, I'm teaching something, whether it be in 60 seconds or less. I'm teaching something. And let me tell you something. The last time I got trolled was probably in 2016. So that's that. What people should be focusing in on as far as digital efforts for 2021? I would say going deeper on the connection or relationship using social media. One of the things that I did incorrectly in the beginning was I went quantity versus quality, and I built a strong audience, but I built a big audience, but I didn't build a strong audience. So now, with the use of Clubhouse and these other apps, I've now been quality over quantity. I don't care about the followers. I don't care how many, because I could have a room of 100 people and all it takes is one person, right? Versus 100,000 people in a room and nobody even cares or even likes me, right? So using social media to go deeper with the relationships, if that means creating a Facebook group, whether it be public or private, it doesn't matter, but taking them off of a general feed and bringing them into a space where they feel comfortable and going deeper with them. What, I have a Facebook group. It's called the Brand Doctors Hangout. There's over 600 people in there. And what I do is every once in a while, I'll say, hey, does anybody want to practice their sales skills? Here's a link, jump on my calendar, and we'll spend 45 minutes and we'll do sales role plays. I'll go first, then you go first, and we'll strengthen our sales acumen. And it's absolutely free. It's absolutely free. And then I'll ask, like, what are the biggest challenges you're working on this week, right? And because it's a small community compared to some of these other Facebook groups, they feel more confident, they feel more comfortable, and they know how much I care, right? And that's what I would encourage all of you guys to use your social media for, is like really show them how much you care. And if somebody reaches out and they're looking for help, be the first one to answer and go deeper with them on social media. I'm noticing now my Instagram is really picking up a lot of momentum because I'm not focusing in on just how many followers I can get this month. It's how many people can I actually help and serve this month. And when you do that, when you come with the position of actually truly wanting to serve, they pick up on that because your voice, your tone, your reflection, your presence, your energy, your frequency is speaking that language. When you come for business, all of what I just said is coming through. So if you come to serve, they're going to feel that and they're going to go much deeper with you. So I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Henry. I really appreciate that. And I know that you need to drop off, so feel free. I will definitely be in touch. Your information will be dropped again in the chat if people want to talk to you further on social media. So thanks. I do still have more questions for Nina and Amya. So if you would graciously stay on, I have more questions for you. Understanding that both of you, Nina and Amya, you manage small businesses. You've worked with corporations. I'm curious, with your marketing now, like, how do you manage it all? When does a business need to hire? Should a business outsource, or should they contract should they use a contractor? Should they hire an employee? Or do you think that someone can just do it all themselves? Like, at what point should they pivot? Nina, I'll pivot.
One of the guiding principles for when to hire is, if you need to invest a lot of your time to learn how to do something, it's probably not going to be worth it, because you could be spending your time more wisely, and it's time to find someone to do that for you. If you're not good at something and there's a long learning curve, or you're just never going to be good at it, it's time to let somebody else do it. So that's a major consideration as to when you outsource or not. I find I've worked for large companies, but I find that as a singlepreneur, I would rather than bring on employees, I will subcontract out to other experts to help me serve my clients. So that's sort of what I find to be the most effective and best way to manage my business.
Thank you, Nina. So we're right at 1 o'clock where we are planning to close, but I don't want to disregard any questions in the chat, which I don't see any. So Amya, just in a quick minute, do you have anything to add to Nina's comment about staffing?
Right, so I'm actually still trying to figure this out myself. Being that my business is so fresh, it's just been booked and busy since. But you know, I understand that at some point you're going to reach capacity, and you don't want to get to a point where you're just completely burned out and you're like, oh, I need to find somebody. So you should just make a list of what you've been doing throughout the day, and see what is the most time consuming piece, and figure out if is this something that I can uh, outsource to somebody else, so I need to bring in a new team member to easily delegate this task to, or is this something that, you know, I definitely need to have my hand in, because I I can't really push this onto anybody else. So just looking at your skills, what needs to be done for your clients, in addition to what needs to be done for your business. Um, and then going from there, and finding the areas that you can uh, send or give more tasks other places, so then you can focus on the more important business necessities.
Thank you so much, Amaya. I appreciate that. And I want to thank all of you for being with us this afternoon. Listen, so if you're not a member of our social media pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, if you're not a member of our media pages, please join them. We offer information about events, memberships, and business tips almost daily. If you have not registered for our next event, check our website and register. And lastly, if you're on the fence about joining NECC, reach out to myself or Nina and let's talk. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you can leverage NECC's business resources for your business. In the chat, I dropped all of the experts' information, so feel free to copy and paste and friend them if you're not friends with them, and chit chat with them about your marketing needs. Until the next time, thank you for joining us and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.